The cooling real estate market is slowing new home construction, but in El Dorado Hills, its new boom is building. Claims of defective construction and substandard design.
In some cases, people are being driven from their homes by these problems, and, well, they've begun calling Curtis Ming.
Well, we have learned the problems may affect thousands of homes in El Dorado County. People have worked a lifetime to afford these homes, and now we're told they are literally being blown apart. In my investigation, we have learned it doesn't appear the building industry has thought much about the problem. It's hard to believe this house is just 3 years old. The cracked wall makes it appear to be an ancient ruin. Damage to this nearby home is so widespread, the original owners left nearly everything behind to escape the sickness spreading here. And the owners of this home won't go inside with us because of concern over their health. What could cause this kind of dread and damage?
It's telling me that the building is moving laterally.
Because of?
Because of the wind.
Bill Thomas is a construction consultant living in El Dorado County. He's not an engineer, but he has years of experience diagnosing and dissecting the seismic movement of buildings, as well as the damage done by that kind of motion. He says he's seeing that damage across El Dorado County.
It affects thousands and thousands of homes.
Thomas spent quite some time evaluating damage after Southern California's Northridge quake. He says the damage in El Dorado Hills is the same kind, but has nothing to do with earthquakes.
Wind moves the house. Yeah, moves it, flexes it.
The wind is an almost constant companion to folks in El Dorado Hills. Those breezes can blow balmy or biting. But Thomas says with this kind of exposure, they are also damaging. Bob Yaden believes Thomas is onto something big, and he points to his former home as Exhibit A.
You know, it's one of those things, you work all your life and you get this, you know, your dream house. And it's gone now.
The Yaden family moved out of this $1 million home in the Serrano Country Club area on the advice of their doctors.
I think we had 23 doctor visits between the kids and my wife that month in May of 2005.
This after months of symptoms that seemed like an endless series of colds and flu and constant exhaustion.
I never put it together was the house.
For me, if I wanted to use them.
The Yadens finally brought in someone to sample the air in their home. The results? So much moisture, an attorney suggested they look for mold, and they found it.
I came back after a weekend of taking my kids, all of our clothes and all of our belongings and throwing them into a dumpster. I said, well, I can't see straight. I got blood in one eye and tears in another.
When the family bought this home brand new 3.5 years ago, they paid just more than $800,000. They then put in $100,000 more in upgrades like this pool. They just sold this house. The highest bid they could get, $425,000. So what does wind have to do with mold? Bill Thomas explains it like this. High winds can rock the house from its roof to its foundation. But as the building sways, individual parts, like doors and windows, move at a different frequency and even different directions. Thomas says that can break the seals, loosen the caulking, fracture the stucco, and water gets into the walls.
You can feel that house kind of move in the wind.
Thomas says separating windows and cracked walls with dark water spots like these at the Yaden's house are signs a building is moving. Rusting nails and staples in what are supposed to be dry spots are another sign. El Dorado Hills and much of the county below Lake Tahoe are zoned for what's called Wind Exposure B. Thomas says Exposure C should be the standard here, but the stiffer materials and stronger design would drive up the cost of homes.
If it costs you $10,000 a house, less money to build it, and you just built 400 houses in the subdivision, you're now talking about real money.
California's Uniform Building Code says a home built with more than a half mile of open space with gentle hills around it is technically Wind Exposure C. In much of El Dorado Hills, the exposure appears endless.
You can see all of the homes along this ridge in both directions all have the same wind exposure.
It's not just the top of the hill either.
The house, in my opinion and in our experts' opinion, is under-engineered for the wind exposure.
This is Stonebriar, a development of nearly 200 homes at the bottom of the hill and south of Highway 50 from Serrano. People here say scaffolding and mold remediation equipment are depressingly common throughout the neighborhood. Dave and Vicki Crozier paid more than $700,000 for this home on the edge of Stonebriar. They're now living with their 2 kids in an apartment paid for by the builder. Dave Crozier works in construction. He and his wife say the wind has made their situation unlivable.
Stress, unbelievable stress. This is just something you can't imagine because it's consuming.
But when you see horizontal cracking like
The Crozier's 2-year-old home is laced with cracks like this one, running the entire length of the east-facing wall. And they have the loose windows, rust, and mold, similar to the Yaden house. The wind has a long, clear shot at this home on at least 3 sides. But there are other problems. Problems not related to the wind. The Crozier home has a rippling roofline and anchor bolts that aren't secure enough to stabilize the house.
the builders call it value engineering. Before they start building homes, they get all their engineers together and say, hey, how can we save money on these houses? Where can we cut corners, if you want to look at it that way?
At the Crozier's home, Bill Thomas says value engineering seems to have taken the form of very few nails on the roof tile, improper and incorrectly installed water barriers, and missing structural supports. Some of the Crozier's neighbors say the builder, William Lyon Homes, has had to clean up mold in their homes 3 times since the houses were built. Many we spoke with cite construction defects too.
If you just take up the sprinkler box.
At Bob Yaden's house built by Woodside Homes, Thomas says there's too little rebar in the foundation and inadequate drainage. Thomas claims that drainage problem, like the wind, affects much of Serrano. Bottom line, Thomas, Yaden, and the Croziers say the homes in this story aren't even built to wind exposure B. Never mind wind exposure C. The Yadens and Croziers have both hired attorneys.
It's a team effort.
El Dorado County Building Director Greg Foos got some of his staff together to discuss home construction there. He told us the county adopts the code, then relies on engineers for the builders to determine if a home or development needs more than wind exposure B or other upgrades. In fact, that's what all the counties in the area told us.
We think that we're certainly comparable to the other agencies, and in some respects we require an even more conservative standard.
El Dorado County has 15 field inspectors checking out new construction, repairs, and remodels. They claimed 35,000 inspections last year. That works out to almost 10 a day per inspector, more than 2,300 a year. An inspector should visit a new home on average 10 times during construction, but county officials point out those inspectors aren't looking for quality. They're only looking for minimum safety standards.
Sometimes individuals, homeowners, would like their homes built to a higher standard, and that's their choice, but it's not something that the county enforces or regulates.
And what about the builders and their engineers? We went to the offices of Woodside and William Lyon representatives.
Hi.
Hi, are you Mike?
I'm not.
But they refused to talk about anything.
We're not going to comment.
But a spokesman for an organization that represents builders in Northern California puts it on individual counties, saying, quote, if the counties think we need stronger codes to do it right, we support that.
Now, to put all this into perspective, Amador County to the south is Code C. So is Nevada County above 5,000 feet and the Lake Tahoe region. So who is to blame here? Depends on who you ask. El Dorado County blames builders. The builders blame the county. Bill Thomas blames the builder's engineers for under-designing the homes. He and the homeowners think the builder cuts corners to save money. And despite El Dorado County's high inspection figures, he says a number of homes there don't even meet basic construction standards.
Person missing on that is the homeowner.
Yeah, who loses out.
Right.
Exactly.
These poor people.
Less than half of what you put into the house is what it's being sold at in this one case.
How pervasive is this? I mean, do you have any indication how many homes we're talking about up in that region?
Bill Thomas thinks it's thousands.
Oh.
He's going through the neighborhoods and he's thinking thousands. He's inspected quite a few of these homes, and you just have to drive up and down the streets and you're seeing cracks in these homes.
And is it just that region, or are there other areas in the Sacramento?
This is just the tip of the iceberg, is what we're hearing.
Oh, scary stuff.
It's a great piece.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Curtis.
that good work.